Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and today I have a special treat for you guys. I have you, the number one large team representing Realtrend. Daniel Del Rio, King of California, is a real estate professional with over 20 years of experience helping clients in the Central Valley of California. He is proud to say that he has assisted over 3,500 clients in funding their dream homes, and he has consistently been ranked the number one agent in the Valley and at PMZ Real Estate for the past 13 years. As a team leader of the D-Real Group, he has built a team of dedicated and experienced real estate professionals who are committed to helping his clients achieve their real estate goals. He strives to make you a client for life, and their business is built on referrals. A testament to the high level of service they provide, they even hold an annual event to appreciate their clients. In fact, they have earned a reputation as the highest reviewed real estate team on the web. They even have been ranked the number one large team in California by Realtrend, Wall Street Journal. Don't just take their word for it. Go ahead and Google them to see for yourself. See what their clients are saying on Google, Yelp, and Zillow. If you're in the market for a new home in the Central Valley, look no further than the Del Real Group. Find out more about the area on their DRG TV page. They have a wealth of knowledge about the local real estate market, and they are here to help you every step of the way. Watch some of their top tips for your home buying and selling journey. You can find what property you're looking for on their DRG search. So don't hesitate to give them a call or send them an email. They can't wait to work with you. Daniel's number is 209-204-0610, and his email is daniel@thedelrealgroup.com. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Daniel. Hey, Daniel, how are you?
Hey, what's up? Good to be on.
Another day, another dollar, another day in paradise for you.
Right?
Hey, man. So, Daniel,
I like the plug, man. I like the intro. You had it down.
Thanks, brother. Thank you. Daniel, what year did you specifically get into real estate? And do you remember how you got your first client?
Yeah, it was in 2003, right out of the military. My first client was through door knocking. That's what we were doing. Yeah, I was door knocking with I think at that point I joined up with a team as a husband and wife duo, and I was pre-licensed, so I just wanted to get my feet wet and just dive in. And I think he was pressured because I was sitting there saying, okay, what do we do? I'm a young guy ready to go, and he's like, let's go door knocking. I'm like, all right. Now I remember he was like super nervous to knock on the door. I was kind of nervous too, but I'm like, hey, we're here, so let's just knock. And we knocked probably for 2-3 hours, and then whenever we're done, we're like, okay, we discerned on, okay, what did anybody we should follow up on or whatever. And then the next day I showed up to the office. I'm like, okay, what are we knocking now? And he looked at me with this weird look like, what do you mean? What are we knocking now? I'm like, well, isn't this what we do every day? Like, let's go, let's go door knock. And then that's when I realized that the inconsistencies of some of the activities of agents. But that's how I got my first client, is just knocking on doors. And it's funny, I have a story that I used to save. I used to save the shoes that I would wear. I would wear these like dress up shoes with like the bottoms that were they weren't like the nice plastic bottoms that you have now. They were just like nice dress up shoes, right? Mm-hmm. And I would burn holes in them because I'd walk so much. And every time I burned holes through my shoes, I would save them as like a trophy for me to like. So that's how much I walk. And so even during the correction of the market, I remember telling a couple of guys that were falling out of the business, and they're like, hey man, you ever think about doing something different? I'm like, man, I will walk every single day for 7 days a week for 6 months before I get out of this business. If I can't get any business, I'll get out of the business. And I never had to do that. I mean, I walked, but I always had business, right? So, but I got my first client walking and knocking on doors. I was 22 years old. I didn't have a sphere. I just got out of the Air Force. I was hungry. I didn't know what I was doing. Fortunately, I think in this business, the more you're in the business, the more your ego gets in the way. I didn't have an ego, and I tell you now, like some of the agents, like they wouldn't even think about door knocking because like, me door knock? What do you mean? And it's interesting. I see every time we bring in a new person to the group, it's like putting a shark in the fish tank, and they start getting really, really busy, and all the other people that have been around for a while, they're like, man, how are they this busy? Right? It's because they just hedonically adapt to all their opportunities, and they just don't see it anymore. The ego gets in the way. They stop doing the things that got them busy initially, was with the faith of of a potential client, right? And then this business just hardens you, and then you stop looking for reasons why not to do it instead of reasons to do it.
Oh, makes total sense. You have serious tenacity, Daniel. You're super pragmatic, result driven, I would say.
Right.
How did you maneuver during 2007, 2009? How was that like for you?
Yeah, it was a challenge, man. I think I was fortunate, right? Like you hear people like Ed Milet says, life happens for you, not to you. And I think that was something definitely that happened for me. I was 22 when I started the business. My clients on average were in their mid 30s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I almost had to fake it till I made it, right? And everyone let anyone know how young I was because they thought I was a little too young for the business. And but I had the drive and I had the work ethic and the discipline that I learned, coming up as an immigrant, and then going playing sports and then doing the military, doing the Air Force. So I knew that I might not be the most experienced, and I might not been the wisest guy, the smartest guy, but I'm willing to outwork anybody, right? And so that was my mentality going into the business. So when it came in 2003, the market was really good, and anybody, if you were breathing, they'd give you a license, and if you're in the business and you're just, business was just falling all over the place. People were just making deals left and right. And so when the market changed, the transactions collapsed, and then it became an activities market and a skills market. And that's where, I shined more because I was willing to do the work. And, and so some of the people that were used to the easier, this might sound very familiar because this is what just happened recently, right? Like 2020, 21, 2022, like business was easy. The last 2 years has been a skills market. Right? Principles are the same, stuff like that. But you have to go into the skill set and the activities. We had to do twice, like even now, twice the activities for half the transactions, half the families we're helping. Back then, it was 4 times the activity for a fourth of the families that you're helping. And so the person that was willing to get up and do the most work, not on a one-time base, but doing their 20-mile march every single day, where they're disciplined, they're coming in doing it every day. They're the ones that had success. And then you had to be okay with prices coming down so much that you weren't getting paid as much as you were before. But for me, it was perfect timing because it got me back into the skills market. And at the same time, now going, and I'm 27 years old when that happened. Homes came down so low that now I could actually help the people in my peer group buy houses. So, you could probably look up my blog. You could probably put Daniel Del Rio blog. I think I called it Mi Ventana. And I would blog from 2008 to like maybe 2013 on the people that was helping buy homes. And I look back at that, I'm like, man, $100,000 purchase, their payment was $700, their fears behind it. I went kind of deep into, what holds people back from buying houses. And I look at those people now, I'm like, man, if it wasn't for the market coming down, they wouldn't have been able to buy homes. And, I was, whenever everybody was running away, I was running towards it. And I was willing to serve those clients and do 4 times the work for, third or fourth of the transactions, that all the people that I helped during that time became clients in 2015, 16, 17, as their families grew. And they moved. People are moving every 6 to 7 years, really. So the buyers that you help today are future buyers, right? My business is 48% referral business. And I remember telling people that. I'm like, look, yeah, this is a $100,000 sale. Yeah, it's only a $2,000 commission check. But in 7 years, this person will buy and sell. And if I do my job well and I build the relationship with them, they're going to come with me. So I'll represent as many buyers as I can, because eventually they'll become sellers. And again, this is 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And at that point, when everybody was dropping out, like I was at the max, I was selling helping maybe 30 families a year when I first started. 24 to 32, I think, was a max. When the market corrected, I think when I got the 30 under 30 in the NAR 30 under 30 in 2010, I sold over 200 houses. And that was just me and an assistant. And so 100 plus of those were just buyers. So, I think when things get hard, the people that are willing to step in and do the work are the ones that are going to reap rewards. The problem with our industry sometimes is we have a finite horizon, and really you have to look at it like not like a finish line style, career, like year after year. If I meet my goals, I cross the finish line, but it has to be like a through line, where you just have to constantly keep running through the line and getting better. And knowing that if you're going to be in the business for a long period of time, what are you doing to serve those clients after the transaction? What kind of experience do they have during it? And know that every time you help and serve a client, that's a seed you're planting for the future as they sell a house. And one thing I didn't even equate for, because again, I wasn't the smartest guy in the world, is the people that sold ended up buying too, right? So, a lot of my the transactions and the families that I help are contingent. These people that I help buy a home for 110,000 now are selling for 400 and buying for 600, right? So, but like again, I think that was all something that happened for me, and I just had the ability to kind of service those clients during that time, and know that it was a through line relationship. It wasn't like, hey, once we're done, I give you the keys, see you later, I'll never see you again. But the way that we touch on our clients every single year is very intentional and purposeful, and we have a lot of good systems behind it. Just I think 2 weeks ago we had 1,700 people that we invited to a client event, and we just, those events cost me more than like twice as much as it cost me when I first got married, right? But for me, it's an investment into those relationships, and I want people to have a great experience, not only during the transactions, when they buy, when they sell, when we put a bow on their door, when we kind of make it about them, but afterwards, like what kind of value am I adding afterwards? And I like to think that people remember not sometimes what you did for them, but how you made them feel. And if you make them feel special every single year, they're never going to forget that. And we always say at our client events, when I finish it up, I say, look, this event is only successful if you met a new person and you left with a new friend, right? So what we're doing is trying to create community within our clients, and it just creates raving fans.
No, that's genius. That's honestly genius. Building a community. You build a community in real life, and then you're building an online community. That's like a byproduct of what you're doing in real life.
Yeah.
So everything you're doing is literally genius, Daniel. I'm not gonna lie to you. What was the turning point in your career journey where your eyes lit up and you're like, wow, this is me. Like, I'm staying here for good.
Well, I think I would say for me, I got into real estate. People get into real estate for different reasons, right? Mm-hmm. So I got into real estate because I know that wealth either begins or ends in real estate. So I'm like, well, I might as well be in an industry that's going to allow me to build wealth and learn and help people kind of go through the process of making decisions on buying a home. And so, in my previous life, I was in Air Force. I was a cop. So you're sometimes part of the worst part of people's days. And over here, you want to like, hey man, I'd rather be a part of the best part of somebody's days, like a memorable part, something that they won't forget. But for me, getting into real estate was because initially, like, I know that either wealth begins or ends in real estate. So I know that once I get into the business and I started seeing, even myself, I bought a home at 22 and then bought a rental. I've been buying rentals every year, basically. I started seeing what it was doing to me. And I was starting to see what I was helping clients do when they buy a home. Like, my parents were immigrants. Like, they didn't get their citizenship until 1998. I saw 2 immigrant parents raise 5 kids with a second, third grade education, and they built wealth in real estate. Like, my dad taught me it wasn't about what you made, but what you did with what you made. And he saw, like, he always said, like, people, like, he said, like, Americans, because he wasn't American yet, they'll look at the street and they'll see pavement, and they'll say, Mijo, I want you to see opportunity. Like, I want you to see opportunity everywhere. And so it was interesting because my dad moved us into a nice neighborhood, and we were like the flying milk, right? I didn't learn English until I was 10. So there was some things there too that you would get to experience. But I did see my dad deny himself and not make a ton of money, but buy a property every like 2-3 years. And he retired. When he retired, he had 10 homes. And he did that earning no more than $47,000 a year. So I had a front row seat on what the American dream was. I had a front row seat at what it took as an immigrant and not worry about how much you make, but what you do with what you make. Deny yourself for this future vision that my dad had for us. And so when I got into real estate, I started helping people the way that my dad was helped when he was an immigrant, right? And so, like, for me, it just lit me up. Every time I helped a young couple buy a house, I'm just like, man, this was me when I was a kid, and this person might have been helping my parents, right? So, I just saw what kind of impact achieving the American dream was, which American dream is owning a piece of real estate and having your home in the land of the free, right? So I think for me, it was when I got into it, there was no looking back. Like, I burned the ships. I'm like, this is what I'm going to do, right? This is just it. There was no plan B. There was no plan C. There was a plan A. And the only way you were going to beat Daniel, like if I used to say too, I think I heard it on a podcast a long time ago. Will Smith said it. He's like, if you put two people on a treadmill, yeah. And he's like, and it's like, and the first person that gets off loses. There's only two things that's going to happen. You're either going to get off or I'm going to die on this treadmill. And that's just the way I always thought. I'm like, you know what? There's no plan B for me, man. I'm making this happen. It goes back to our first story when the gentleman was saying, hey, man, this is tough, man. You thinking about a career change? I'm like, dude, I'll walk streets every single day for 6 months before I get out of this business. That was just my mentality. There was no plan B, right? I was burning the ships. So fortunately for me, it was really early. And whenever you have that kind of commitment already, where you're like, this is it for me, this is what I'm going to do, this is why I'm going to do it, you have the why is big enough, then it doesn't matter what happens in the market, you find a way. And most people are looking because their why is not big enough. They don't understand. They're there for the money, not really for like the bigger picture of what it is that they're doing. That anytime the winds change, they're looking for a reason to get off the boat, right? And so I didn't have that choice because I burned them. So I'm like, look, I don't care what happens with the market. And I would tell my team this. I'm like, look, the only predictable thing about the market, or the only consistent thing about this market, it's the fact that it's inconsistent, right? So I need you to understand that. The only consistent thing about the market is that it's going to be inconsistent. So that means that the only consistent thing that you can control is your behavior and like how you show up to it every day, because the market's always going to change. And 20 years in the business, going from 2003, the market crash, 10 years of trying to recover, COVID, the correction in 22, right? Now I'm like, the only consistent thing is the market's going to change. It's just, but how are you showing up? And the most important real estate that we tend to sell, and we sell ourselves, is in between our ears, which is our, what we're thinking. And again, going back to the conversation with my dad, like, am I seeing opportunity or am I seeing problems, right? Am I seeing payment or am I seeing opportunity? So for me, man, it was really early in my career. I burned the ships, and that's just the way that I was raised. I saw my parents do it when they left everything that was known for the unknown of an American dream. They burned all the freaking ships, and they were here, right? So I had a front row seat of seeing people live what I'm saying firsthand, very young. So again, like, life just kind of happened for me, and I got an opportunity to see a lot of that in my parents. And I'm very conscious on that, and it shows up in the way I lead my team, my family. That you could say as much as you could be very smart and try to teach people a lot with your tongue, but more is going to get caught than what's going to be taught by words. So my parents might have not taught me a lot academically because they only had second, third grade educations, but they taught me a lot through their actions. And so that's kind of what, and the way I try to lead my team is through actions, right? Like, what am I doing? How am I showing up? How am I maneuvering to this market? How's my mindset? How's my, just energy in general, right? So I was very fortunate with that.
You have a long-term framework, or a long-term you see it very long-term, and you give the fulfillment to your clients. So you're doing everything right, I would say. What's the most misunderstood thing about you, your industry, or your work, would you say?
What's the most what?
Misunderstood thing about you?
Misunderstood thing about me or my industry. I think I would say that it's easy, right? People come into real estate thinking that it's easy. People come into real estate thinking that that you're going to have freedom of time, and it's fine because that's your competition. Let them think that, right? But it's hard, and it should be hard. And I tell my son this, and I say, look, real estate in my industry is a career that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, but I wouldn't change a thing, right? Because the hard and it being hard is a fee you pay for success, right? And so even if you think of like the most prestigious careers, like say a doctor, it's hard. The white coat is not about what you're going to do, but it's what you've done. The 7 years of school, the 2 years of rotations, right? The hours and hours of work that you put to study, that discipline earns the white coat, right? So you need to have that kind of mentality. Are you willing to go through that hard, right? Because they make really great money, but it's because they went through a lot of hard academically, time, all that. And so the harder the career is to get into, the higher the pay is going to be. Now, in real estate, it's very easy to get that career. But if you take that kind of mentality, I tell people, look, I'm not asking you to give me 7, 8 years of your life. I'm asking you to give me 3 years, but work as hard as they are for your own dream. Like come in with that kind of discipline, and then you'll change your life forever, right? People come into real estate thinking that they're going to be able to golf, they're going to be able to have their mimosas in the morning, that it's going to be easy. No, like you're exchanging your 9 to 5 for a 5 to 9. You're exchanging from having one boss to having multiple bosses. You're exchanging that for always interviewing for work. You wake up every morning unemployed, right? Like you need to have that kind of relentless pursuit of the next thing that you're doing, right? So I think the most misunderstood thing in this business is the fact that it's going to be easy. And if it's easy, that means you're probably missing out on a skill set, the market will shift and eventually you'll realize that you're exposed. I have this analogy that I would say that the market that we were in was similar to like seeing a bird on the tree, right? So if I were to tell you like, hey, look at this bird on this tree, it's sitting there all relaxed, right? That bird on that tree, it's sitting there hanging out, right? And you think of like that bird on that tree doesn't really have faith on the branch. It has its faith on his ability to fly, right? That's the bird on the tree. So there's a lot of birds on the tree of real estate. They all had their faith on the branch, and they realized when the branch broke, they didn't know how to fly. So it fell to their death, right? So are you a bird that's on a branch that has their faith on the branch, or you have the faith on your ability to fly, right? So, and as you know, like you need to have faith in your skill set to be able to survive anything in the changing market. So I think that's the biggest misconception, is saying, it's easy. No, it's not. Like it might look easy when we're wrapping doors and taking pictures with clients and throwing on an amazing event. Like we make it look graceful, but just like when you see a boat, see a duck on water, it's just calm. Underneath, man, he's just paddling like a mother, and that's real estate. And if you're not paddling, then you're not doing enough.
Totally. Like you have very high self-awareness, I would say, and you always see your perspectives always like, or you always see like the glass half full, very opportunistic, I would say. If you could change one thing about the industry, what would it be and why?
I think I would make it. I think I would. Our industry gets affected by 95% of the people that aren't fully committed, right? That's what's like. I think our industry, like if you think about it, like a majority of our business gets done by a small amount of people, but the high producers, right? They do a majority of business, a majority of the transactions. But if you look at those businesses, you're like, wow, man, they're amazing businesses. But we get judged based on the 90% that aren't doing shit, right? Meaning like the part-time agent, the agent that doesn't know their craft, that doesn't know contracts, don't know how to negotiate, doesn't know how to communicate to a client, take them through an experience, treat your people right? Too many people that are running around with commission breath, right? Wanting to make that sale. So that's something that I would change, man. I think that in our industry, I would almost say that like it needs to come in. You need to come in almost with a skills market mentality. And you need to say, okay, is this a career for you or not? And I think the big changes that happened with the commissions, that for me, we were super happy about that because man, it's going to wash away a lot of the wannabes, a lot of the people that were doing real estate for fun, a lot of the hobbyists. Like my lifestyle, my career is not a hobby, right? It's a career, right? And so I think the one thing I would change is I would get all the hobbyists out of it and let the professionals do what professionals do, is serve clients at the highest level, give people amazing experiences, and help people build wealth in real estate. That's it.
Well said. Well said. No, this what will happen in August is definitely gonna turn out some turnover this year for real estate, I would say too. And have you started incorporating AI yet into your business processes or structures, or is that something that you're thinking about for 2025?
We've done a little bit of AI. We're just helping us refine certain things, but not as much. No, I mean, our CRM is we go through Brivity. We have a centralized CRM with our team, and that has AI in it. It helps you. It doesn't help you write it, but it helps you make it better, right? So I tell my team, use AI not as a replacement to you, but as an enhancement to you, right? Because if you outsource your brain, then eventually you'll never use it. Like it's a muscle. Like you have to try to do your marketing descriptions. You have to try to price a property. You have to look at comparables, right? Because if you look at comparables to try to price properties, you're going to get an idea of what things are selling for. So in the future, it's a reference point for you. If you outsource all those reference points, and you're just walking around a hollow person, right? You're hoping, like, think about it. Like if I took your phone away, how lost would you be, right? Because you're relying on tech. Like it's either a smartphone, like your phone is either very smart or it doesn't work and it's a brick, right? Mm-hmm. So are you willing to risk that in you? Like, hey, like Vincent's super smart if he has his phone and AI. If not, he's dumb as shit, right? Because reality, like, think about it. When your phone doesn't work and it doesn't work, then what happens, right? It's like, it's dumb. It doesn't you can't do anything and you get pissed and frustrated. So I would say you can't outsource your skill set. You could enhance it. Like, are you using it to enhance what you're doing, or are you using it to replace you?
No, you're totally right. Yeah, no, you should use it as like a refiner almost to totally polish up like thoughts and things like that nature. And Dave, you don't have to answer this, but how do you handle criticism or negative feedback about your work if it's ever occurred?
We ask for it. So every family we help, I personally call every single person we help. I thank them for trusting us. I ask, how did my agent do? How did the team do for you? What can we do better? Right? Because growth is behind the things you don't see, right? And so having that higher level self-awareness is the only way you're going to grow. The moment you're not willing to take feedback is the moment you're going to stop growing, right? So every single day I'm calling people saying, hey, what can we do better? And I'll take notes. Like if it says, man, the communication wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be. I expected a little more from you guys or whatever. And those are all reference points for us to get better. Like, we're not going to do everything perfect, Vincent. We're not, right? We're going to go through desert wanderings, just like biblically. We're going to go through desert wanderings. We're going to go through a fire, and we're going to get through them. But are we going to learn through them? That's the important part. The people that have the mentality of learning through them, then that's great. Some people use a desert and they use it as a campsite and they just reside in it. Some people put the blinders on and keep walking, and they're always living in their perception. And their perspective, right? They're like, this is my perspective. I'm doing great. I'm moving along. I'm building my dreams. The moment of growth is when you could get out of your own perspective and you get into other people's perceptions, right? And I'm like, and think about that's where growth happens, is when you could start looking at a room saying, how are they perceiving this situation? What's their experience like? Everybody knows what their experience is like. Sometimes we have too many people walking around saying, I want my experience to be great. Right, I have my things that I need to take care of. But once you go into other people's perceptions and what their experience is like, that's when everything changes, right?
No, totally, Daniel. Just switching gears a little bit. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
You know, I'm gonna answer it two different ways.
All right.
I'm gonna answer your question, and I'm gonna reframe it in a way of what the right question can be, right? Or like where most people go to, right? So if you go historical, then for me, I gotta go with this guy, right? So I gotta go with that guy. I mean, why can't I not? Why would I not go with Jesus Christ? Come on, man. He's my heavenly Father. I got a lot of questions for him, right? So historical person, that would be it. Like, I think you could sit with yourself a lot and look at the past and say, okay, who do I need to talk to? Why would I want to talk to somebody? Like for him, I'd want to talk to him about what he did and what I need to be doing, right? Like seeing, like, again, like your feedback. What am I not seeing, Jesus? Like, what am I seeing, right? And that's what I want to know, because that's where my growth is. But I think if I were to sit with somebody, a lot of people want to sit with somebody like not, so that's Jesus, so that's Jesus. But somebody might say, like, I want to sit with Warren Buffett. I want to sit with somebody that's like, I want to sit with Napoleon Hill. I want to sit with John Maxwell. I want to sit with all these great leaders, right? If you're in the finance, I want to sit with Elon Musk. But I'll tell you one thing, like when you sit with those people, they're so far advanced and far ahead of you that they're only going to give you motivational one-liners. The person that I want to sit with is the person that is where I'm going to be in 5 years. Because if I sit with that person, that person still has blood on their teeth from getting kicked in. He's going to tell me what the blood tastes like, how hard that route has been, and what he learned from it. Somebody that's so far removed from it, they're only going to give you motivational one-liners, right? Like John Maxwell's going to go to, hey, I'm John, I'm your friend, right? Or like, you know, all these guys are going to go through those highline what you should be doing, instead of the person 5 years from now that you should be getting advice from. If you're doing 20 transactions a year and the guy ahead of you that's 5 years ahead of you is doing 100, that's who I want to talk to. I don't want to talk to the team leader that's doing 500 to 1,000. He's too far ahead. I need to go with somebody that still has the blood on their mouth from getting their teeth kicked in from the market and building their business. That's who I want to talk to, because they're going to give you more practical, tactical stuff on what to expect.
No, you're totally right. You have really good. Yeah, you really have high self-awareness, Daniel. And if you study the way Jesus talks, it's fun. He talks in parables, so like he talks indirectly, so like you feel like self-tension. He doesn't really tell yourself directly. And see, either you learn through trial and error, you learn through someone's trial and error. You might as well learn through like someone who's just 5 years ahead. And can you give me like hypothetically, let's say someone wants to join your team today. What would be your advice to them to maybe ending the year with a contract and really just taking off in 2025? Like, do you think door knocking, that strategy could still work in 2024, or how do you think they could end the year with the deal?
Yeah, we're talking about that right now, because we just went through our third quarter numbers and we're ending the year with the fourth quarter. We got 60 days left of the year, right? So we have our goal planning session already planned for, I think we have it November 20th, right? For, we need to have our goals all set by the end of November. A lot of that, like even the way you approach December, that's how your new year sets up, right? So it's all leading indicators. What are the leading things I need to do to be able to get to that family? Like some people might say, well, hey, I want to get a transaction, right? Like I'll have a client, an agent that says, I want to help 40 families. So then I'll say, okay, what kind of behaviors do you need to have to be able to serve 40 families? What kind of behaviors do you need to have? And then that's the question, the answers behind that question. Like if you want to help 3 families by the end of this year, great. Like people don't rise to the level of their goals. I want to help 3 families. They fall to the level of the systems. So me asking you the question of what are the behaviors, I'm asking you about your systems, your activities, your actions, right? I don't care if you do 3, you help 3 families. I care more about the behaviors and the actions than I do about the 3. Because you could do all the actions and behaviors and get 2, that's still successful because you changed something, right? The behaviors were there. Now, so whenever we're talking about that, I'm like, okay, well, what kind of behaviors do you need? It's a contact sport. That is what real estate is. You're not going to do any transactions, you're going to help any families if you're not talking to people. You know, I always think it's funny when I hear a team leader or somebody that says, I ask them like, where does your business come from? And they're like, oh, it's referral business, past clients. And I'm like, well, that just means you don't know where your business is coming from. That's what it is. Like, it's all referral business. That means like, what do you mean? So you always have to, it's a contact sport. You always have to go. If your business is 100% referral, you're missing out on a lot of stuff, right? Your business should be about 40-50% referral, and the rest you should go hunt. You need to go out and get new business and put them in your family, right? So I would say, what kind of behaviors are you doing? Open houses, calls. Like if it's a contact sport, how many contacts are you going to make? Like my team knows every week we report, we're making a minimum of 100 contacts. We're reporting how many attempts, how many contacts, how many appointments, how many offers we have out, how many closings, how many reviews we got. Those are the things we report every single week. So what kind of behaviors do you need to have to make those contacts? Is it open houses? Is it notes? Is it calls? Is it, are you doing mojo calling? What are you doing? Are you picking up Vulcan? Are you calling expires? Are you calling FSBOs? Are you going to your kids' soccer and baseball game and having 3 intentional conversations with people about your business, right? Are you wearing your brand and your logo to create somebody to talk to you at the gym? Like, how are you creating contacts? Those are the behaviors, and if you have those behaviors right, the transactions will come, right? And so that's the beauty of what we do. Like, it's not about the end result. It's like the behaviors and falling in love, not with us. Like everyone will say, I want to help 40 families, right? That's great. Okay, you want to help 40 families. What you want to say is, I want to become an agent that has the behaviors and the ability to help 40 families, right? That's because that's where the money is. That's where, like, and if you can fall in love, not with helping 40 families, but with the behaviors and the skill set that it takes to serve 40 families, you fall in love with the process, not the end result, then it's game over for anybody else that's against you, because you've already fallen in love with the process of growth. And so that's what I would challenge people. It's like, well, it's a contact sport. How are you gonna make contact? Let's start whiteboarding. Like, I have whiteboards in my office, and we just start knocking things off, right? Like, let's whiteboard, and then once we whiteboard, put our ideas out. Let's circle the ones we want to go after, and activity, action, accountability all the time. That's what we do.
Jeez, no, I follow you. Now, you really have it reverse engineered. Like, what do you want the output to be, and these are the inputs. So, like, you really have that figured out almost down to the science.
So you want me to share something with you? And I don't know if I could share my screen. I probably can't share my screen, can I? I want to share something with you, just because you said something about that. Okay. I have this picture of my son, and I want to share it with you. Let's see here. And because I think it connects to what we're talking about here with just connecting the behaviors that it takes for us to do what needs to be done in order to build the life that we want, right? Mm-hmm. We focus too much on the end result, and we get lost in dreaming. Like, I tell my wife, says it's like she wants to sleep, right? And I'm like, I love sleep too, babe, but you can sleep and dream all day long, or all night long, or you can wake up and make your dreams a reality, right? I'm all about like, what do I need to do to make my dreams a reality?
You really have that work ethic, and you're driven, Daniel. I would say, like, you're a go-getter.
Yeah. So I was trying to find the image that I have of my son with his Legos, and what I want to show that visual, because I think if you said something about the way Jesus spoke, right? I think Jesus spoke in parables. The reason why he spoke in parables, he could say one thing and it meant something to everybody in the room. It connected with everybody. And he did a visual so that way it's cemented, so that way you walked around and didn't forget, the story of the person and how it connected to you. So I think the visual would be great, just because I think it will help somebody put that together, right? but I don't even know if I'm going to be able. Oh, here we go. Oh yeah, okay, I found it.
Perfect.
All right, so can I share my screen?
Yeah, see if you can.
All right, so let's see. All right, here, let's see. I'm going to share my screen. Present, I think. That's it. Slides, share screen.
Yep.
Let's see. Screen works best on your computer. All right. All right, here we go. I'm going to share it off my Remarkable. Can you see my screen or not? It says your browser can't access your screen, capturing different screens to see if it continues. So do me a favor. Can you share your screen? Yeah, I'm gonna try one more time.
Screen sharing is easy with 2 monitors. Screen sharing is best on the computer.
Remarkable. Let me see. No, that didn't let me either. And I'll do one more. Screen number 2. Maybe that works. No, it's not letting me. Anyway, so I'll explain it to you, right? So, and you know what? I could probably even show it to you on my phone too, just so that way you could see it through my camera here that you have. So, a lot of the things that people do, and this is what's interesting, in our real estate industry is very guilty about this, right? I mean, it's very it's incredibly difficult to see people go through this because it's very discouraging. So, in our industry, we see, how many times do you see somebody, they're in the real estate business for six months, maybe a year. They're dressed really nice, right? They're going to mixers. They get a nice car. You're like, man, they got an amazing life. Like, that looks pretty cool. They're taking cool vacations. It's all Instagram stories, right? They never really show you what the work they have to do that. And sometimes they're showing you this Instagram story, but they really have no substance, right? They're like, and you're like, man, I want to get there. And it gets people discouraged because they're like, man, I don't feel that way. I don't have a nice car. Like, I'm not seeing what they're like. I'm not doing what they're doing. And it's discouraging. So I always talk about, like, your life and your real estate career should be building like Legos, right? So I have the Infinity Gauntlet, right? If you're a Marvel's fan, right? This is it's like an 18 and over Lego set. And I got this picture of my son. He's 10 years old when he built it, right? And so he's 10 years old and he built it. So here's the question, like, how many, that's Instagram for you, right? Like, everybody's sitting there with a finished thing, like, look how cool I am, right? But if I would ask you a question, Vincent, if I take that same Lego set and I put my son, my 10-year-old son, now this is for 18 and over, but I put my 10-year-old son in a competition to build this Infinity Gauntlet versus I go to MIT, I told the dean, I said, I want 5 of your smartest, the brightest kids, the ones that are going to change the future. I want 5 of them. He gets them, brings them to me, and I'm like, you're going to compete against my son to build this Infinity Gauntlet. It's going to be timed. Whoever finishes first is going to win. The difference is I'm going to take all the bags. I'm going to open them all up. I'm going to put them all in a big pile. I'm going to show you what you need to build, Infinity Gauntlet. You're going to build the same thing as my son. And I'm going to take your instructions away. And you 5 against 1, the brightest and smartest against the 10-year-old. Go. Who do you think is going to win?
I don't know. Is it the 10-year-old? Is because he has the instructions?
Exactly. He has clear instructions on how to build it, right? Many people go to life and they think they want to do and build a business like mine. Don't give themselves clear instructions. They're drowning with motivation and inspirations and visions, and they lack clarity on how to take every step to put it together. And when they start taking steps, they get discouraged. They're like, wait a second. But every once in a while, just like Legos, your bag number 1, you open up bag number 2, and the colors change. And you're like, ooh, it looks okay. It's looking good. And sometimes you're building, it doesn't really look like the Infinity Gauntlet up until the end, bag 7 or 8. And so that's something that I talk about in that, as you could see, like, okay, so as you go, if I go up, you're going to see, like it looks like this, right? Like very, like, okay, that's 3 steps. Then you go to, and it looks the same, right? Then more of the same, right? Pages after pages, it looks the same. How many times do you do year after year, week after week, month after week? It looks the same. And you get discouraged because it all looks the same, right? But then you stop ahead of bag number 2 and now the colors change, right? And you're like, yeah. And every once in a while you get a buddy to help you. And every once in a while you have to take some pieces off because you messed it up and you have to go back to the instructions and put them back on. And then, but at the end of it, you build this beautiful infinity gauntlet that you can show off, which is called your life. And you could beat 5 of the brightest and smartest people in MIT with simple instructions. A 10-year-old could beat 5 of the brightest at MIT. You're telling me that you can't build the dreams that in the life that you want by giving yourself simple instructions? A lot of people are walking a life of the 5 MIT people. They're trying to build a life with no instructions, with no order. They get discouraged when progress doesn't look like progress. They live life on Instagram saying, look how cool it is, taking somebody else's infinity gauntlet, saying, this is mine. And it discourages a lot of people instead of saying, bro, it takes work, it takes time, it takes instruction. Pages after pages after pages after pages, it's going to not look like progress. But guess what? Every once in a while, life gives you a new bag. And every once in a while, like, you get to a section where you get excited about it again. And when you look back, you can stand in front of a camera like my 10-year-old son holding up something that he's proud that he built, which in hope is your life or your real estate career. That's the goal. So yeah, I always talk about behaviors. I always talk about reverse engineering your life because I think we're drowning in motivation and we're lacking implementation.
No, truly, man. No, dude, you're really like you. Nothing is random with you. Everything is well thought. Everything you take calculated risk almost. And what do you think is the key to maintaining a work-life balance, and how do you apply it in your life?
It's funny you asked that. So I'm going to be balanced whenever I'm in the ground 6 feet, right? That's the only time in my life I'm going to be balanced, right? Life is not about being balanced. It's moments of perfect imbalance. Harmony is what I call it. Instead of being balanced, I want to be in harmony. If I don't prioritize what's important to me, society will prioritize it, right? So I can't be at work thinking about my kids, and I can't be with my kids thinking about work. When I'm with my kids, I'm not balanced. I'm not thinking about crap at work, nothing, right? I'm thinking about my kids. I'm at work. I'm not really thinking about my kids. I'm thinking about work. This conversation, I'm thinking about you, right? So most people want to be balanced, and they have no priorities. They don't know how to prioritize and how to live a balanced life, a life in harmony, where they're at home and they bring home work. They bring work home, and they're at work and they bring home to work. They're not here, not there. They're completely absent-minded and they're confused. Like, people will tell you, like, if I have a conversation with somebody, like I'm in that conversation. Like I use my phones in a ton of different focuses, and you can't even get a hold of me, like, because I prioritize what's important to me, and that's not balance. It's imbalance, 100%. This conversation is not balanced because if somebody calls me right now, I'm not going to say, hold on, Vincent, I got to take this call. I am perfectly out of balance, but I'm in harmony of what I want to do, which is be on this call with Vincent, right? And so I can't be thinking about my family. I can't be thinking about the calls I need to make, the emails I have, the calls that are coming in, whatever. So there's no balance. It's prioritizing what's important to you. I took my kids out of school. We homeschooled them for 5 years because I'm like, look, man, I cannot prioritize the school system's schedule. My schedule's not that way, right? So I need to bring my kids home to me so we could have a perfectly imbalanced life, right? But it's a purposeful life. It's a life in harmony. And I needed to make sure that my kids' values were instilled in them strong enough to support the pressure that the world's going to put on them, right? Now, if I wanted to be balanced, I was like, oh, let other people raise them. It's all good. I got to go to work. I got to go here, and I got to guilt myself to death on everything. I'm like, no. Like, if I don't prioritize what's important to me, society will. And that means you have to have moments of purposeful imbalance, and you have to find harmony in making sure you're walking whatever spiritual walk that you need to walk, and that you know that you're doing what aligns with your values at the time that it does, and then not constantly put yourself up on a guilt trip or on the cross that you should be with your kids or you should be working. No, let your systems give you the freedom. So I always tell my team that, like, I could sleep well at night. Like, we have 50 houses on the market, right? I sleep like a baby at night because I know that my team's taking care of things and we have systems. If I have to make 20 calls or 30 calls tomorrow that are like high, intellect calls, I'm not thinking about that today, right? Because your brain is really meant to do a couple things, to protect you and keep you alive, right? And so part of keeping you alive and not hurting yourself is not hurting yourself financially. So many people have too much in their brain because their brain doesn't trust their systems, right? Because they're like, man, I can't forget about this guy. I can't, this person. If I do, it's going to cost my family money and I'm going to mess up. So they're going to keep thinking about it. They're going to lose sleep. I sleep like a baby because I trust my systems. My systems and my disciplines give me the freedom to have mental peace and perfect and balance and harmony in my life, because I don't have to keep thinking about that, because I know that my system's going to remind me tomorrow and I'm never going to forget. The moment I trust that system, I now have my mental capacity back, right? I have my harmony, my peace back. It goes back to, like, your faith walk. When you really think about it, like, people might say, well, Daniel, like, you don't party, you don't do all these other things. Like, man, it must be really hard. Like, I go to the gym a lot, I eat, healthy foods, and, like, man, must be hard to constantly keep saying no to things, like to keep denying yourself and having all these disciplines. I'm like, no, it must be hard not making that decision and having the moment make the decision for you. Like, I go to any event and any day in my life and I already know what I'm going to do. Like, I don't have to keep making that decision, which gives me the absolute freedom. I'm the guy that's free. You think my disciplines make me free. The problem is you have no discipline, so you're a slave. You're a slave to anything that happens to you any day and any excuse, right? So, anyways, that's.
You are something, man. You are literally, like, very interesting. Like, I thank you so much for blessing me with your time today. What's the most challenging aspect of being in your role, would you say, of being a team?
Is constantly chasing fear. People might think, like, oh, Daniel, like, you're so you have a team, you're successful, it's like you have a great family, and I'm super grateful. I am 100% grateful, but I'm not letting my gratitude make me complacent, right? I have to keep chasing fear. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people stop doing. When you look at somebody, when I talk to somebody that stopped growing, I'm like, okay, at what point did you stop chasing fear? When you look at the 4 C's of growth, you, like, number one, you have to commit to something. Number two, which is something that people outsource. A lot of team leaders outsource this and they fail, is courage. Like, you have to earn courage. How do you earn courage? By chasing fear, making the calls, knocking on doors, getting rejected. But once you earn courage, you learn what you're capable of. What am I capable of doing? And then you're like, okay, now that you know your capability, what's my capacity here? As a solo agent, I could do 30 transactions. Okay, I could stay there, wear that capacity like a warm sweater, or I could go commit again, chase fear again, earn my capability, and look at my new capacity. What's that look like? Hiring an assistant. That's scary. Chase fear, earn my courage, find out my new capability, right? Then say, how much capacity do I have with this assistant? Do I go to 60? All right. And then you could stay there. Maybe it takes you 2 to 3 years to do that. You could stay there for 20 years, or you could chase fear again. Oh, I have to hire a team member. Oh, now I have somebody else that has to rely on me. That's fear. But you chase that fear, earn that courage, learn what your capability as a team, as a leader. So I say that because I constantly keep chasing fear, right? So that's my goal. Is I want my team members to see that Daniel's always chasing fear. I'm always learning a new capability. I understand that the person that got me to where I'm at today is not the person that's going to hold me back, right? Eventually, it's going to be the person that's going to hold me back. So the person that gets you there eventually is the person that holds you back. It's eventually you're going to have to put a bullet to the head of that person saying, thank you for getting me here. You're no longer serving me. I'm going to take the best 20% of what I've learned, and I'm going to go chase a better version of myself. And those are the 4 C's that a team leader or a person has to go through multiple times. I've done those like 6 or 7 times. I'm doing that right now as you're adding, lending or title, or as you're growing your team or your leadership skills, as God continues to anoint you to do and speak. to people where like, man, that's chasing fear, because whenever you do open your mouth and you speak, there's a greater level of responsibility, right? That comes back because you're being judged. And it's interesting that you asked this question, because that was one of the things, like in my, I do my Bible reading every day, right? So the one that I highlighted was James 3:1, which just says, the untamable tongue, my brethren, let not many of you become teachers, knowing that we shall receive stricter judgment, right? And then I put on the top of this, my fear, right? And I remind myself constantly that fear is the devil that's holding me back for what God's calling me to do. And I'm afraid to speak in certain times because I know that greater judgment comes to me. But so I always try to chase fear, because I know that if I chase fear, I earn my courage. If I earn my courage, I find my new label of capability. And then once I find that, then I see what's God want me to do in that space, right? What's my capacity? What can I do? What's my reach? So.
No, that do you or something. I don't know if you know the law of like ability, but they say like 25% of the people are gonna love you no matter what you say or do. 25% of the people, even if you're perfect, for some reason you're never gonna get them. But it's the other 50% you have a chance of influencing, persuading. So like you do everything that you just keep living your life. Like you're winning, I would say. Is there any other books, podcasts, or articles that have played a significant role in your life, would you say, or work?
Yeah, I think that for work, you got Give and Take by Adam Grant. Adam Grant is the guy that Give and Take is building a business through giving, right? Like if you're in the real estate industry, number one, you got to understand you're in the service industry. Your job is to serve as many people as you can. The more you serve, the more opportunity you have, right? I say, like, if you live life in gratitude, it opens up the doors of opportunity. If you live life in servitude, it kicks the freaking door down. So you need to serve as many people as you can. Give and Take is a book that talks about having that servant's heart and then giving before you receive, like the reciprocity rule. How to Win Friends and Influence People is always it's an amazing book. And honestly, in a skills market, you need to learn how to negotiate. Not only with other people, but with yourself. You're constantly negotiating with yourself. So Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss is an amazing book. So that's something that I would read. And a book that I read almost every year is Atomic Habits with James Clear, because that book is it's all about this conversation. It doesn't matter what you want to do; it's what kind of behaviors, what kind of habits do you have that will shape who you're going to be. So Atomic Habits is a book that you could probably read every single year around this time in preparation of putting your own specific instructions together that you're going to follow faithfully, that are going to keep you grounded and on point to build that amazing Lego life that you want, right? So part of Atomic Habits is visualize what you want, spend some time there, and like, how would it feel like to help 40 families? What does your bank account look like? What does your client base look like? What did your day look like? What kind of experience are you having with your family? Okay, great. Pull that out when you need to. Now, that's the end result. Now, let's give ourselves instructions of what would it look like for you to execute that every single day? What kind of behaviors do you need to have to be an agent that serves and helps 40 families every single day, right? And then you give yourself that kind of instruction. So that book is 100% a must read, especially right now. I'd probably pick that one up before anything else.
Deja, you heard it here, Daniel. If you're hearing this, go pick up Atomic Habits. And I guess I got like 2 or 3 more questions for you. So I'm super grateful, extremely grateful for you sharing your time with me today. I might rewatch this when I'm really old. What's a life message you want to leave with me when I'm 80 and rewatching this?
Life message. I think if you're watching this, man, it doesn't matter. Like, there's 2 things in life, man. You're gonna have either communicative knowledge, what you're giving right now, Vincent, and you're getting this probably. You're getting communicative knowledge. Right? So many people are walking around with communicative knowledge. I really hope that you're listening to this and you went out and you walked your walk and you got revealed knowledge, because you could read as many books as you want. You could listen to a lot of these calls, and you could be as smart as you possibly can be in communication, but revealed knowledge is much different, right? You could read as many books about running a triathlon I did Ironmans for 10 years. You could read as many books about swimming, running, and biking. But until you put your foot to the ground and start like figuring out what your body's going to do when you're pushing it to its limit, revealed knowledge is much different from communicative knowledge. There's a lot of people right now that are walking around with a ton of communicative knowledge. And what I think is lacking right now in our industry is revealed knowledge, right? People that are going out there and learning lessons. So if this is you 80 years from now, Vicente, I said, man, I hope you enjoyed that revealed knowledge journey, and I hope you're going back with a lot more wisdom in that revealed knowledge. And wisdom is difficult. Like if you read the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, it's a Solomon's book that he wrote at the end of his life, the wisest man, the richest man, saying life is hard. Getting revealed knowledge is hard. Getting wisdom is hard because you have to learn making mistakes and you have to make decisions that might affect people, right? But it's worth it. But can you find your joy in your journey of your revealed walk? Like, can you find your joy? Can you have your peace? Can you find your moments of perfect imbalance where you're enjoying the time with your kids? And that's what I would leave you with, man, if you listen to this when you're 80.
Dude, thank you so much, Daniel. You're a real one. Last question before I let you go. What legacy do you hope to leave behind through your work when it's all said and done?
I think at legacy, I would think of an inheritance, like an inheritance that I would leave people, or a legacy. I think when you look at legacy, you think of an inheritance. Like, what do you leave for people? What message? And it goes back to saying, like, a true inheritance is not what you leave for people, but what you leave inside of them, right? And I hope that my legacy is not much of what I accomplished or what I left for people, but what I left in them, right? And you understand, like I'm a Christian, right? So I know that there's 4 gospels. There's a 5th one, which is my life, which is your life. It's the gospel of your walk. That might be the only Bible any other people will have access to, is how you live your life, right? And so I would say that the legacy that I want, that inheritance that I would leave my kids and the people around me is that walk and what I left in them and how I led with a servant's heart, with that patience and that love and that grace. That's what I would want my legacy to be, right? A guy that loved hard, had a lot of grace, and just had a ton of fun and just loved people and served people at the highest level. And it's a man that was after God's heart every single day.
You have that blind faith, unconditional faith, and you not only are you chasing happiness, but you're chasing fulfillment. And I feel like that's what a lot of people need to be chasing, is the fulfillment. I think that's what really gets us going. Daniel, how do you like people getting in touch with you?
I think I'm not. The beautiful thing about being an agent is you're not a secret agent, right? You're a real estate agent. So you probably Google me, like you said, and you'll find me right away. I guess Instagram is a place where a lot of cool kids go and hang out. So Instagram, I think it's Daniel Del Real at Instagram. But yeah, you could either Google me or they could reach out to you, man. You could put them in contact with me.
Sounds good, man. Legend. You just heard it from a king from California, #1 large team on Realtrend. Daniel, honor and pleasure to you sharing your time with me today. You are a genius. Thank you so much. Can you stay on the call for one more minute?
Sure.
Thank you. Blessings.